Oh my God, Famita. Oh my God, Famita.
Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I'm your host, Willie Bragg. I hope each and every one of you are doing well today. I'm going to say hello to Miguel. Hello, Miguel. Hello, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Happy Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Technically, happy Wednesday at this point. Let's see, Dr. Nick Riviera. Hi everybody. Hello. And he has a question, and I'll answer that question. What are we talking about today? The smears and attack against Briahna Joy Gray by, I guess we would call these people what I just barely know who Brianna Wu is and Konstantin Kisin, who they both are. And they seem to be shit lib adjacent or neocon adjacent shit lib Zionists is the best way that I think could describe these folks. And they decided to attack Briahna Joy Gray with racism and accusations of anti-Semitism, and we're going to be talking about that today. Because I have a lot to say about that. Let's see. Who does your intro music? Very good question. Now, the intro music to the Willie Bragg show. Now, before I talk about that, I have a habit now of actually kind of changing things up, and I will always play like some kind of prelude of some kind of instrumental that's like copyright free to kind of have a little bit of variety. And what I played was Famita Beats, which I will put down on the description box below when the video is done. And the song I played was called Unfortunate, and is his sort of variation of what is kind of considered Russian post-punk doomer music, which is sort of a revival of the 1980s, which groups like Mochadoma and groups like that do sort of a kind of a take on what Joy Division and The Cure were doing in the 1980s, but doing it with Russian lyrics. That's the best way to describe it. So is the latest current music I listen to. So I listen to that all the time. But I decided to play was copyright free. So to give y'all a taste of that. So. And the intro, the music, and the outro music themes for the show. My friend that lives in Maryland, he's going to be moving to Toronto soon, officially. His name is Kenny Herrero, and he does the music for the show. So, and that's also on the credits. You'll see that on the credits as well. So, I've been trying to get him to go on Twitter, even though I hate Elon Musk. But you can find him on Facebook. So, and his Facebook link will be is listed as well. So there you go. Earl, how are you doing? You made it. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And okay, you tracked down the outro music too. That's good. That's good. All right, way past my bedtime. Well, it's my night off, so this is it's like 12 in the afternoon, except it's a.m. right now for me. Let's see here. Excuse me. I just ate a little while ago. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a great deal. So. Okay, and let's see what else. The summer is really bad on my hair. That's why I have to get a haircut. It was just, I've been having it long for a while. Usually I have it combed back somewhat, and it was long, but I had to get it cut because the summer just makes my hair look like shit. So, for the time being, it's going to stay trimmed. So, and all of that. So, all right. Oh, anytime, Dr. Nick. And thank you, Earl. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is Briahna Joy Gray. And I think that she really doesn't need that serious of an introduction. But suffice to say, we know who Briahna Joy Gray is. Anyway, she's the co-host right now, Rising with Roby So on the Hill. And she has her own podcast called Bad Faith Podcast. She worked with Glenn Greenwald when they were both working together at the Intercept, and she's probably the most well known for working for Bernie Sanders as the national press secretary during the 2020 campaign, his 2020 campaign. And that's where I first heard of her. And I have been pretty much supportive of her since then, because I always said she was the best part of that campaign in 2020, because she was a reminder of Bernie's better side of 2016. Because the problem with Bernie was when he ran the second time, it was like he was trying to get himself acclimated into being a slightly less shitty Democrat, or a slightly better Democrat, if you will. And that was my problem with Bernie. And so the admiration and respect I once had for Bernie has been somewhat, somebody popped an ice cube into that hot bowl of soup, if you will. So anyway, the thing about it is that for some reason she draws a lot of anger from people from kind of like across the spectrum, whether it's the right wing or whether it's the centrist, or even people in very close to her ideologically. It seems like for some reason people get very angry with her, and and I honestly don't get the anti-Briahna Joy Gray derangement syndrome that people have. I mean, and maybe I'm biased because I do respect her. I listen to her. I agree with her basically, roughly 95% of the time. And I'm sure there's some where I would disagree with her, and that's fine. I don't expect people to agree with me 100% of the time. So it's just kind of like people just, for some reason, there are people out there that I see people tweeting really shitty things about her. There's even been some racist attacks against her. Like last year, a year and a half ago, over the Ukraine situation. She's critical of that war, and they painted her in some memes in a racialized, negative, stereotype sort of way. And we're going to go into a racialized term used by one of the participants of the dissident dialogues that just took place, I guess, last month, where Briahna Joy Gray got attacked, and they were talking about it this past weekend. And she's been in a Twitter war with primarily two people that's been really attacking her, and I've heard other people calling her Bernie Sanders Diamond and Silk, which is also very insulting, very insulting. And it's just anyway, I'm just like, all of y'all, whether you're Robbie So, the co-host, attacking her from the right, or whether you're Shank Uger being a shit lib attacking her, or whether you're Bosch or whomever you are, it's like y'all need to get over this, all of y'all. So anyway, suffice to say, I will go into this character here. And let me find this motherfucker. This guy, Konstantin Kisin, who's used some racialized term. He called her DEI Barbie, which obviously is racist. And yeah, I mean, he got his feelings hurt about her being critical of Israel, you know, and basically accusing her of being anti-Semitic, which is just nuts. And yes, that is correct, Dr. Nick. He is a Russian Jew. And here's the thing about that. He defends the Ukraine cause. And what is significant about that, to sit there and call Briahna Joy Gray anti-Semitic, is that he defends the Ukraine cause. Konstantin Kisin needs to shut the fuck up, and he needs to sit on the hell down, because he defends the Ukraine cause. When you have a government and you have a military filled and littered with neo-Nazis, I understand maybe from his perspective why he may be critical of Putin, and there is what I call Putin derangement syndrome too. I wouldn't vote for Putin if I lived in Russia, but I think that people are harsher on Russia than they need to be. It's not the most democratic country in the world. It's not the most authoritarian country in the world. But you know what? They're protecting Ed Snowden. They're protecting, Sarah Reid, who used to work for Joe Biden. She had to leave this country, and and think about it is, the United States is going to go and talk and act like they're more democratic than Russia. Russia's got universal health care. They got free medical care. We're still waiting on that shit. Russia abolished the death penalty. We still use that. And yeah, I think most of y'all know on Twitch, Nikki, she lives in Russia now, and she told me last year that Russia basically I think it was like recently just legalized or enacted a new law where workers get like 28 paid days off a year, a month get paid vacation off a year. We don't even have that guaranteed here. Yeah, you're lucky. You're lucky if your job, if you have in a job and they gave you 3 weeks off, you're lucky. So for him to sit there and bait her, and it's bad enough. I mean, that he's defending the Netanyahu government that's committing what is a genocide in Gaza and what's going on in Rafah and everything like that. And there is no Hamas presence in Rafah, by the way. So I mean, there is an agenda to basically ethnically cleanse a population of people out of a country, and that is what is being done. And he has no arguments, so he resorts to racism, and that's what it comes down to. Konstantin Kisin. And I'll be playing you a video clip, if I have time, from Dave Rubin. You remember that guy? And he has his nerve to what he has to say in that video. So, and I'll go ahead and play that in a little bit. So, what I'm going to do, and we'll get back to this motherfucker, and we'll get back to Brianna Wu in a few moments. But I had to get that out of my chest there. So, essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, if I can find the video clip right there. Yep, that's it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play. I'm not really a fan of the Vanguard, but I did think that the information that they provided was actually pretty accurate and straightforward and positive information. I don't say that too often these days about the Vanguard, but they did good with this time. So I'll play you a little bit of what they had to say, and I'll comment. I'll give y'all my analysis of the situation as well. So we'll get started, and we'll let these two stoners get underway.
Get into the Brianna versus Brianna. So I guess Briahna Joy Gray, who of course hosts the Bad Faith podcast and is a host on The Hills Rising as well. She was the press secretary for Bernie Sanders 2020. You guys all know her. She recently was speaking at some sort of a panel debate, and this clip is now going viral thanks to Brianna Wu and a couple other kind of liberals of her ilk who are going after her, saying that she is against the idea of a Jewish state and posting this clip as some sort of a gotcha, being like, wow, see, check it out. This is proof that she's an anti-Semite. So let's take a look at the clip, and then we'll get into Briahna Joy Gray's response and some of the discourse that came in the wake of this clip being posted back and forth with Brianna Wu and then Josh Fox and others. But yeah, let's take a look at this clip just so you guys can judge it for yourself, and we'll react
And
afterwards.
also, when Brianna criticizes or gets into beef with the Zionists, just ask yourself, before we get into it, how many beats away from racism do you think it is? Like, how long do you think it goes before they immediately resort to that? Because you're like, I don't know. Zionism, it's built on an ethno-state. It's built on religious and ethnic superiority. I don't know. It tends to attract people with insane racial prejudice and nasty racism. And it comes out, of course, in this. But first, let's hear from Brianna.
How do you get to a solution?
So I think that we have to not talk about Arabs as though they're somehow constitutionally different than Danes. I don't know why we would essentialize populations in that way. We have to be open to the idea
Danes don't
that the
do
people.
October 7th?
Wait a minute. Muslims didn't do October 7th.
Not since the Vikings.
Gazans didn't do October 7th. And if you're adopting the worldview that everyone in Gaza, the 2.3 million people, are responsible, then you are very much in line
That's
with
not what I said.
Netanyahu's right-wing government,
That's not
who
what I
thinks
said.
that and therefore thinks it's appropriate to violate international law by doing collective punishment on the population, literally starve.
He's also in line with Hamas, who he constantly criticizes for taking out their issues with the government of Israel on Israeli citizens. Like, yeah, that's the exact logic that you claim to criticize and that you claim justifies the genocidal campaign that you constantly justify.
Now, when the October 7 attacks began and everything, here's the thing about that. Hamas is not the entire Palestinian population. So to attack everybody in Palestine, to go after every Palestinian living in Gaza because of what Hamas did, even if you wanted to just signal out Hamas, was it was disproportionate, and it was definitely not justified especially in the way it was done, and from the get-go. But another angle to this, and I keep repeating this over and over again. Now, I don't support Hamas, and I will tell you why I don't support Hamas. I don't support Hamas any more than I support Israel. And I don't support Israel either. I don't support any country in that region. And I will tell you why I do not support Hamas. Because Hamas is being funded by the Mossad. It was funded by the Mossad back in the 70s and the 80s to have a division to weaken the PLO. Now, the PLO's gotten kind of cucked, and they have been, a little acquiesced into supporting Israel. Well, no, I'm not going to say support Israel, but they cooperate with Israel. Well, Netanyahu basically got Hamas kind of doing what he wants them to do to justify what's going on right there. And so, I can't do that. So, but here's the thing: to sit there and say all Palestinians are guilty or have you, that would be like saying that all Jews are guilty for what Netanyahu is doing. It would be like saying all white Christians are guilty. And that's a broad group of people. They are conservative Christians. They're progressive Christians. That they're all guilty for what Timothy McVeigh did in Oklahoma City. You got bad people from all walks of life everywhere. So, and I'm not trying to both sides this shit. This is more Israel's fault. Right now, objectively, what's going on right now is more Israel's fault than anything else. But right here, for these people to sit there and they're going to gang up on her for what she said, and she wasn't wrong. So anyway, we'll let continue.
Yeah, and they don't do October 7th. They do fucking 100 times more damage, and then
Yes.
fucking starvation and mass fucking destruction of hospitals, civilian infrastructure. The scale of what Israel does cannot be compared to 10/7 because it's infinitely more destructive. So
exactly.
he's right on that point. He just doesn't know it.
Starving them to death,
Fine.
having them on the brink of famine, killing 13,000 kids. There was a very passionate description of the graphic reality of
Brianna,
October 7th at the
Brianna,
beginning of this. The answer is,
you're not answering my
I'll
question.
answer the question.
Go.
I'm sorry, I do feel like a lot of
20
responses.
more seconds.
Okay.
20 more seconds. The solution, please go.
There has to be a one-state solution, which means that
100%.
there cannot. When Hamas is talking about eliminating Israel, it's talking about not killing all of the Jews. It's about eliminating the idea. It's about
Right there, they took her out of context. She was outnumbered on the stage, and they took her out of context. She was trying to make a point. I understand the point she was making, but they caught on to that, and they decided to project into what she said. And she is not talking about, what they were projecting into what she was saying about doing to what they were going to do to Jews and all that. And again, you have to think about Hamas itself when they reformed their charter in 2017. Yes, prior to 2017, their charter was undisputably anti-Semitic in every negative capacity of the word. It was anti-Jewish in every way you can imagine. However, they revised their charter and softened their stance. And so thing about it is they're doing it because Hamas wants to they basically want they're wanting mainstream acceptability around the world in the international community. And sometimes you're going to have to go and reach out to people that you're not going to like. Now, you think about Israel and Egypt signing a peace treaty back in the 1970s. Jimmy Carter kind of orchestrated that. I mean, you had Anwar Sadat, who was pretty hardline, who mellowed out. You had Menachem Begin, who was kind of hardline, and he mellowed out. He still was a piece of shit, but suffice to say. But that I'm not going to say that was a negative thing to happen. Of course, you want a peace treaty to be taking place. Now, things like the Abraham Accord was fucked up because the Abraham Accord basically says, well, these countries can go and be at peace with Israel, but the agreement is that Israel says fuck the Palestinians and these countries who are establishing diplomatic ties with Israel are willing to go and throw the Palestinians under the bus. That should be unacceptable. And it should have been unacceptable from day one to move that embassy from Tel Aviv all the way to Jerusalem. And honestly, probably the worst thing was, and this is not 100% connected with Israel-Palestine, but it's kind of adjacent to when Trump went and ripped up the peace treaty between the United States and Iran, a peace treaty that was working, which would have prevented Iran from developing nuclear arms. Now, I don't want Iran to have nuclear arms. I don't want Israel to have it. I want Israel to dismantle their shit too. But the thing about it is, all the problems we're going to have with Iran is the United States' faults. And that goes back to the days of George W. Bush when he invaded Iraq. They created that. They created that shit to begin with. So I'm going back to 20 years and everything. But then again, there is a connection with Benjamin Netanyahu, because Benjamin Netanyahu basically encouraged Tony Blair and he encouraged George W. Bush to go and invade Iraq. On that alone, I wish that the ICC would go after Benjamin Netanyahu and also go after Tony Blair and George W. Bush for war crimes. So anyway, we'll let this continue here.
Leave it there. Leave it there. Brianna, leave it there.
Let me just finish, sir. Can I just finish the sentence? It's about eliminating the idea of a Jewish state, ending a Jewish state, ending an ethno-national state, and having a state more like what we have in the United States of America.
If I can just boom.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with what she says there about having a secular state, a state that doesn't play favorite for either the Jewish population nor the Palestinian population, but can accommodate both peoples. A successor, if you will, a successor state. you can call it anything you want, but a state that would be a successor where there will be a democratic constitution of some sort that would grant equality to all people. Absolutely. It would be secular with no religious favoritism toward any religious groupings, while protecting cultural institutions, religious institutions, and celebrating the ethnic diversity of all people living in that area. I think that that's more than reasonable, and I think that that's what she is advocating in what she just said there. Maybe I'm doing the projecting, but we'll let her and those morons on that panel continue, and the two stoners there on the side.
That was hot. That was good shit. She was on fire right there, bro. Good shit. I mean, look, people will cope in seeds and say that that's fucking anti-Semitism. No, it's not. Do you think that America should be a Christian nation? I don't. Do you think that fucking there should be any ethno states? Like, I don't believe in that. And who's
exactly
like that's a crazy thing to believe in.
Yeah.
The year of our Lord 2024. I'll borrow your guys' religious ass language. There you go. See, we can mingle a secular and religious folks, right? And that's a crazy thing. It's like a Jewish state. So what the fuck? Like, do I catch on fire if I go there because I'm not Jewish, because I don't believe in God, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what happens? Oh gosh, as soon as you step in, like immediately, it's like, yeah, that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy, right? Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yep. And that's the crazy thing that a lot of people are kind of pearl clutching about that line at the end. I'll throw this one up on screen too. Here's Briahna Joy Gray calling for the end of a Jewish state. That's not an exaggeration. Her actual words are ending a Jewish state. It's like presented as such a gotcha, when I feel like it's a pretty basic sort of like liberal principle, at least it should be, to support secularism and to not be cool with the idea of like religious ethno states. Like, there's lots of religious minorities who face oppression and persecution. Obviously, Muslim people face enormous persecution and oppression, mostly thanks to our wars and the propaganda post 9/11 and currently with what's going on in Hamas. Am I in favor of any country in the Middle East being exclusively a Muslim ethno state? No, of course not. I don't want any country disallowing people from living there or having equal rights as human beings.
Or how about the Scientologists, bro? They take a lot of shit in America.
Yeah, exactly. Pick your poison. Any religion. I would not be in favor of any of them having their own exclusive religious ethno state.
Temple get to start its first state? I want to know. I'll go check it out. I
Salem,
agree with those guys politically. Yeah, exactly. Dude, is Salem now sovereign land? Is that their Vatican? They just get to operate independently within the confines of America? Because now you guys would start to be spitting. Gavin and I, we have the Church of the Vanguard, and we're trying to carve out our sovereign land too. You know what I mean? We've got some disagreements with you guys in different areas or not. The use of taxes. We would like to be the Vatican, but the Church of the Vanguard here. And we'll take some undesirable land right here in Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, we're not asking for something crazy. We're not asking for Manhattan. We're not. Yeah, Weibo. You know what I mean?
Yep. I think Nathan J. Robinson's completely correct here to point out too. Like, is that different than ending a white state in South Africa? If so, how? Obviously, people that were advocating for the ending of a white state in South Africa, it's not like their beef was just like with white people. Like, damn, I fucking hate white people. We should really do something about what they have going on down in South Africa. In the same way, people who have a problem with Israel are just like, damn, those goddamn Jews are really out of control. We better rein them in and make sure they don't have a state. Like, that's not the logic behind anyone who speaks out against Israel. Clearly not. And if Briahna Joy Gray was some anti-Semite, I mean, I'm pretty sure in all of her years of making content and doing commentary, we would have at least at one point got a hint of that. You're telling me that all these years she sat here on multiple podcasts and doing the job of press secretary for Bernie Sanders, as well as even before that, working as a journalist for The Intercept. You're telling me that throughout none of her career, at any point, she ever let slip that she's actually this anti-Semitic person, has these negative opinions she's harboring about Jewish people. But all of a sudden, now that it's convenient and there's issues going on in the Middle East, now she's using her this political moment to actually like infuse her anti-Semitism.
Let me touch on that point right there. If you criticize Israel in the least, you're considered an anti-Semite. Thankfully, that's not sticking the way it used to. There's a lot of people, they're tired of that shit. I mean, it worked for many years. So you got people who were scared to sit there and criticize them, and just kind of like no, we're tired of that shit. I don't know Briahna Joy Gray personally. I never had a conversation with her. I've never met her, never seen her live or in person or anything like that. But I can catch a vibe of a person And she doesn't strike me as somebody who would hate anybody. Again, she strikes me as a very nice person. I could, and I could be wrong. We all misjudge people, and sometimes you can meet somebody and they could be the biggest jerk around. But she does not strike me as a hater of any sort. My understanding is that she's very, very close friends with Glenn Greenwald. I mean, I don't mean like they're associates. They're like buddies, like close friends. Glenn Greenwald's Jewish. And Glenn Greenwald is critical of the state of Israel and what they're doing. Long time, openly anti-Zionist. She worked with Bernie Sanders' campaign. The last time I checked, Bernie Sanders is Jewish. I just don't see anti-Semitism written all over Briahna Joy Gray. Now, I've seen anti-Semitism written on white evangelical Christians who sucks Israel's cock all the time. And behind the scenes, in their little rural southern community or western community, whatever part of the country, if that gay person's getting picked on, or that Muslim person's getting picked on, or that transgender person's getting picked on, or what have you, and the ACLU comes in and to file a lawsuit against whatever discrimination, I can guarantee you that white evangelical neocon fundamentalist Christian who pretends to love the Jews and masturbate to Benjamin Netanyahu will suddenly start becoming anti-Semitic once the ACLU comes around the corner. Because what they're going to think? They're going to be like, some damn Jewish lawyer from the ACLU coming around to infringe on my Christian rights. You know the type. Yeah. So, and such people can fuck themselves. Anyway.
Joe Rogan, a lot of people are doing that for clicks on TikTok. Wow, yeah, these young kids, dude, it's sad. It's crazy. I never would have thought about it. When I was your age, it would have been totally unthinkable. But now, these young kids, they're all... And then, whatever. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, what she said was totally reasonable. And what's crazy is that, honestly, shout out to Brianna. Let's give Brianna her flowers really quickly. It's not easy to go into an auditorium full of people, sit across the stage from an auditorium of people who are literally advocating for ethnic cleansing and advocating for just rank imperialism and just horrors that are unimaginable to most people who live in America to experience and live through on a day-to-day. I mean, guys, you all saw after Rafa the fucking horrible images that were coming. I don't even have to describe them for you. You've seen enough. You're arguing across the table from people who think that's what has to happen. They're so delusional. They're so warped in their propaganda. These people have been victimized by a massive propaganda effort that, makes this case that, these are God's chosen people. They have to have the land of Israel, and then you have a bunch of fucking crazy deranged, yes, anti-Semitic, but also evangelical Americans who believe in like this weird ass fucking prophecy that says.
Thank you, Zach. You heard what he says. These evangelicals who love Israel and hate Jews at the same time. And this is ironically what's going on. And everything is upside down. You have people who are mostly Jewish protesting in favor of the Palestinians, and you have evangelical Christians who don't give a shit about Jews, pretending to love Jews, and they honor Benjamin Netanyahu more than they do Pope Francis. They, as I said, they probably masturbate to Benjamin Netanyahu, who are killing babies in Gaza. I should probably not say it that way. Algorithms will probably strike me down for saying that, but I'm telling the truth. What they're doing in Gaza, they don't give a damn about pro-life. They don't give a damn about pro-life. They don't. They'll sit there and talk about the unborn babies, but when babies are being torn apart in their limbs and everything in Gaza, they're pretty damn cool with that. So, just kind of like, the fuck is wrong with these people? referring to the evangelical Christians and all of that, the Christian Zionists. Anyway, I do think that Briahna Joy Gray overall she did handle herself well, and all of that, and that was just kind of a good background right there on what happened with the dissonance dialogue, and they were referring to and all of that. So, and I didn't even know about this dissonant dialogue forum at the time. I had no idea it was even a thing. So, so anyway, let's see here. Let's go with the Vanguard's rivals, Do Dissidents, and they gave their take on it, Keaton and Russell. So we'll go ahead and play a portion of that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Okay. All right, here we go.
He was that guy was very special. But if you listen to that, you pretty much just heard the distilled geopolitical perspective of most of the people who appeared on stage at that festival. This very facile understanding of the Muslim world, of its history, the violent savages trope, that they are ideologically, hey, I mean, these people, they're ideologically murderous. And hey, we get, look at how they educate their children, which is said later in the piece. We'll get into that Tuesday, how Israelis educate their children. But this is what I said in the piece we did. Now, we haven't been showing clips because we promised them we wouldn't until they drop them themselves. So now this is fair game based on what I agreed with them. The entire weekend, nothing was said about geopolitics that would disturb Jake Sullivan. It was just constantly China is the enemy. They wanted to talk about Uyghur slave labor. They wanted to talk about American slave labor. We've done stories on that. We're going to do more stories on that. They didn't say anything about that. It was all this very, very conventional view, and that's why I came away from it saying, these guys are just basically right-wing Republicans with a tech bro paint job. That's it. They just want to be cool right-wingers. This whole dissident, it's a fucking joke. It's a joke. These people, these people are as fucking as dissident as Kamala Harris. These
bingo, absolutely.
People, they might hate her, but they're just the other side of what she is. That's it. They just stay within this very narrow ideological lane that is not going to in any way, shape, or form disturb anybody with any real power. So what you just heard from him, that was very typical of what you would hear that entire weekend. Now, Briahna, like she was visibly upset by a lot of what she heard, including that Danes thing. And she was talking about murder children. A woman burst out laughing. She tweeted about that. So it was a very rough panel. I actually, after we did that initial coverage of it, I had some people say I was there and it wasn't all anti-Brie. And actually, I forgot about this. They did a poll.
It was like 85%, something like that.
It was like 74% felt that Israel's war in Gaza was just. So yes, the room was overwhelmingly against her. It was a very tough room, and it really exposes the whole. And this is what I asked Schellenberger about, and this is what I asked Lee Fong about. The whole anti-woke thing. It's just another grift. That's what Israel post October 7th has really exposed. They had nothing good to say about the student protesters. You want to show that you're principled, you go out there and you say, I don't agree with them, but it's terrible that they're violating their right to speak. Nobody said anything like that when they mentioned the protesters. And this is right after Congress passed that horrific bill to essentially criminalize pro-Palestine protests at colleges. Nothing to say about that. Nothing to say.
Yeah. Now, Gene Simmons from the group KISS will be an exception in the sense that he is a Zionist, and that's something to take issue with in a negative way. But about a year ago, when Robert Kennedy was running and he got into trouble by deleting a tweet in defense of Roger Walters, because Roger Walters is a huge critic of Israel. When being interviewed, I think it was on Sky News, he was interviewed. We're talking about Gene Simmons. He was asked about Roger Walters' position on Israel. And I wish I would have kind of brought the clip with me, but I will tell you it. I'll tell you what happened. He basically he was respectful to Roger Waters. He's like, well, Roger Waters has a point of view, and he's got a point of view. I'm kind of paraphrasing about an injustice that he sees, and he's acting on it. And in a sense, he basically seemed to respect Roger. He disagreed with Roger Waters, but he respected him and knew where he was coming from. Now, that's way different from the people who went there and started cheering the attacks on these students, the encampment in the last several months here. I mean, these students who are unarmed. It's so easy to go after people who are unarmed and cracking down on them, and that's what they're doing. You have people like Governor DeSantis wanting to go and expel these students and ruin their lives for, I don't know, exercising their First Amendment rights, that sort of thing. And it was just kind of like, and they're going to sit there and lecture people about wokeness. Wokeness can be right-wing too. Political correctness can be right-wing. SJWism can be right-wing. Cancel culture can be right-wing. And I wish people would start calling these authoritarians on the right that silence people, wants to shut up people, and wants to use law enforcement to silence people, and wants to use the government to ruin people's lives for saying the wrong thing that ruins their right-wing worldview and right-wing sensibility. I wish that people called them politically correct, called them social justice warrior, called them woke, because there is a right-wing variation of it too. And it seems like there's not a word for it. There needs to be. I would like for people to start referring to them to that, because it is so evident every day. And they're getting to be more authoritarian, in your face authoritarian. A lot of these folks on the right, not every right-wing person. There are conservatives out there that do not do that, and I'm not knocking those down. But I'm certainly am going after those who are pro-authoritarianism while pretending they're there for free speech, and a gullible population believe, oh, they're for free speech, as they advocate silencing people who disagrees with them. So anyway,
say about that. The only panel where that came up was one that Li Feng was on, and anything they had to say about students was negative. So that's the context, that's the environment. Now, as far as how he moderated, we always want to be fair. That was a bad moment, but if you do go on in that clip, they've dropped the whole thing if you want to watch it. If you do go on, he does press them, well, what are the Palestinians supposed to do? What are they supposed to do to get a better deal for themselves besides going to war? I came away saying I thought he was trying to be a fair moderator. Now, in that moment, what I think happened is his personal bias came out. But it was not, the entire thing was not characteristic of his entire moderation, I didn't think.
All right, so we're going to go here. So Brianna quote tweets that video piece. Moments after one of the pro-Zionists on the panel argued that Muslims were unsuitable for cohabitation, unlike Danes, to wild applause, I make a forceful argument against ethno-nationalism and Islamophobia. As was the case through the debate, the moderator interjected at every turn. All right, so that moderator has a name, Konstantin Kisin, and he has a lot more integrity than you do. Your forceful argument is just whitewashing Hamas. You treat them like they're the safety patrol and they're bloodthirsty rapists whose literal charter is to genocide all Jews. Now, she called him a moderator, in quotes there, because he cut her off and he made a point on behalf of the opposition. He didn't just interrogate her. He said, well, that's because the Danes don't do it.
Sure, that was out of bounds. Sure.
Exactly. Oh, I don't mind her jibe. She struggled on the night, stormed off crying, threw Mike at the organizers after failing to answer a single question, and reading the comments on the the video, even pro-Palestine people were embarrassed by her behavior. Leaving your echo chamber is painful. Oh, I'm sure she got a fair shake in your fucking comment section. Oh, yeah.
I am so sick and tired of right-wing ideologues saying this, whether it's Ben Shapiro or whether it's Steve Crowder or whomever. In this case, Konstantin Kisin, whatever his ideology is, because I haven't heard of the motherfucker until this past Sunday. That they own that person on the left, and they were crying, and they just couldn't take it because they're weak, pathetic. So, man, these people need to fuck off of that shit, And I certainly do not believe that Briahna Joy Gray was storming off the stage, crying, and violently dropping the mic on the floor and all of that sort of thing. I don't. That is not in her character. And again, they're trying to do the trope to make her out like she's some angry, like she's that caricature of the angry black woman or something, that, the ghetto angry black woman, that sort of similar to Marjorie Taylor Greene going after Jasmine Crockett's eyelashes comment from the other week. It was meant to be a trope. And I'm not one of those folks that want to sit there and call somebody a racist in a drop of a hat. Okay, I'm not that guy on the left that does that. But when it happens, they need to be called out. And I think that this is one of those moments right there. Konstantin Kisin has shown his racism for damn sure. So anyway, we'll.
For sure, those are totally unbiased observers. Yeah.
Okay.
Even the pro-Palestine ones. Yeah.
Okay, so I can personally testify as someone who was there. She did not cry coming off the stage. I hung out with her out back for about 10, 15 minutes afterwards, and she was furious, which I cannot blame her. But no, she was not crying. Now, as far as microphone gate goes, unfortunately, because I could see from her body language that she was gonna jet as soon as this panel ended. So I started getting my shit together to talk to her. So I didn't get everything, but I did get the moment that it ended and what she's doing with the microphone. So clearly she puts the microphone back and to the left. So
so just over 100 agree.
All right. So this also shows you what the outcome of this poll was in this room of fucking ghouls.
Just about 20 disagree and about 25 are unsure. We didn't see what it was at the beginning, so I don't know if we shifted much of the conversation. It shifted. Say that again, but louder. Okay, from 71 to 74. Okay, percent. So we are slightly more convinced.
Okay, so over the course of the debate, it went from 71 approve of Israel's actions to 74% approve of Israel's actions.
This is just more by an extra 3 percentage points. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again and thank everybody on the panel.
Let's see.
Thank you very much for being here.
Now it looks like she's about to put it on the chair.
That's where it cuts?
That's where it cuts.
Oh.
Because I was prepping to chase her.
Oh,
so
yeah, we don't have that's like the shot at the end of Inception with the top. Just as it's about to fall, it cuts to black. Oh, killing me.
Okay, she was outnumbered, obviously, like Russell said. She was wanting to get out of there real quick. And I know what it's like to debate a group of people and to be outnumbered. 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. I have been there. And you have people who's hostile and they're just, they're not owning somebody when you have 4 or 5 people attacking one person who can't sit there and obviously take 4 or 5 people. I mean, it was an unfair fight. I mean, and if the shoe was on the other foot, if it would have been somebody on the right and it would have been a group of progressives doing that, it would have been the same thing. It wouldn't have necessarily proven anything. Nothing was proven. Nobody was, you're not owned when you gang up on one person. And that's what was happening right there. You had a group of people who were like-minded, ganging up on one person together, just keep throwing them with everything you got. I'm not making excuses, but that's how it is. I know what that's like. So, if they think they own her, no, that's not true. I mean, they can go and live in their little fantasy world all they want. But but they were trying to, they wanted to paint her in a negative light. Not Keaton Russell here, but the neocon shit lib adjacent fuckers that did dissident dialogue. So anyhow, and as I said, Ed Russell did talk to her, and all that. If y'all want me to, I can leave you the links for this. So I may put down that link when I'm done with the video and all that. So let me go ahead and do this here. All right. Let's go to Twitter for a moment, and we can talk about that too, if you like, because Sunday night when I slept all day, and I got up and I was looking at all the tweets that you can imagine. And let's see, where do we start? We'll start with, let's see, let me take a look here. Which one are we going to start with? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Not sure about the order here, but so it's not going to matter with the order. We'll start with this one. So, and let's see. I know it's a little blurry, so let me go ahead and get that. Let me make sure y'all can. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Hold on, that's not right. Give me a second here. Okay, let me get that right. Give me a second here. We'll get this right here by. Let me get it on that tweet, and I'm going to expand it so everybody can see it. Okay, hopefully y'all can see it now a little bit better. Okay, all right, give me a moment. I think you can see it a little bit better. All right, so let me scroll it down a little bit here. And he says, basically, in this one tweet, he says, DEI Barbie is upset. And Briahna Joy Gray said, this is from a neutral moderator, quote unquote, of a debate on Israel's genocide in Gaza. You simply cannot argue with racists. On the upside, they will expose themselves. And he says, no one cares about your race, Brianna. This isn't Harvard. Now, that also was kind of racist, because I know what he's trying to illustrate with that, and that is a deep insult to her. He's basically saying, is very offensive, but he's basically, what I am reading into it, he's basically insinuating that she's an affirmative action person that only got into Harvard because she's black, which is nonsense. She got into Harvard because she's qualified and she's smart as hell. And I've seen it for myself on Bad Faith Podcast. I've seen it at her debating people one-on-one or what have you. I mean, I could tell she's a damn good lawyer. And all of that. I mean, she's not an intellectual midget by any stretch of the imagination. Let's see. Now he's calling me an anti-Semite after calling me DEI Barbie, but I'm the one doing identity politics. Anyway, check out today's radar about the anti-Arab essentialism critical to maintaining the public support for the Israeli ethno-state. And she said, I said she was anti-Semitic to me, which she was, said this guy here, Konstantin, not that she was an anti-Semite. That's because the difference is between actions and identity. And no, you basically want to insinuate she was anti-Semitic, which is not true. Mostly peaceful DEI Barbie, their opinion. As soon as it was over, Gray strode off the stage, tossed her mic at the moderator, podcaster, and left as quickly as she could, pausing only to whip off her heels to throw on some flats. This is the most Islamophobic, racist audience I've ever seen, she told Kisin, her voice shaking. It's disgusting. I hope someone drops a bomb on the entire bed. Really, I don't believe she said that. I do not believe for a fucking minute that she would say that. As I said, it's not her style. It's just not anything I would suspect it's not anything I would see in her. Okay, let's see. Let's go with the next one here. We'll go with this one here because I saw Twitter get lit up a few days ago. Let's see what we got. All right, so let's see. Okay, this is from Sabby Sabs because Sabby Sabs actually knows. She knows Briahna Joy Gray. So, and Sabby Sabs have to say this. Descendants of slavery built this country. You have some nerve telling a black woman what she doesn't, that she doesn't deserve in this country. You bleed Karen energy. Oh, and Shank Uger, you need to come and get your racist rebellion pack, girl. That's great. The great response. And she's referring to Brianna Wu. We're going to go into Brianna Wu in a moment. If you want to fight today, again today, I've got it for you, Brianna. Referring to Briahna Joy Gray. You're entitled, which is why you storm out of the event with Konstantin Kisin. You accuse people of being racist constantly, and yet you're the most open anti-Semite on the left. Oh, fuck this lady. I'm talking about Brianna Wu, that is. So, and that's absolutely just bullshit. That really is just bullshit, And again, I do not for a second believe that about Briahna Joy Gray. That's just a character assassination and everything. Let's see what we have here. All right. Let's see. You don't deserve the opportunities this country has given you. You are more entitled than any white man I've ever met. She's quoting Brianna Wu. And the racism is loud. And it is. For the record, this country didn't give me opportunities. My ancestors fought for them, including the Civil War. She's like, I'm not rooting for death, said Brianna Wu. I'm calling for a ceasefire repeatedly, and I support our president's efforts in a ceasefire. I also strongly publicly stood against Rafah. Whoopie-doo. I guess I'm glad that you did, Brianna Wu, but still engage in a character assassination, which is despicable. I've been ignoring this goofy broad because I couldn't even for the life of me figure out why she's still relevant. Well, I didn't even know that Brianna Wu existed until recently, but that's just me. But she's a good example of where hateful, genocidal, Islamophobic ideology gets you. Keep rooting for the mass murder of children, you murderous freak. You couldn't matter less. And she's responding to Brianna Wu, saying it's not genocide, it's conventional war. Civilians die in war, and it is tragic, which is why it is unwise to start them. Maybe Hamas, your Hamas buddy, should give up this delusional fever dream. Well, maybe Netanyahu should stop grooming Hamas, and maybe Israel should actually respect the right of Palestinians and give them a state of their own, and stop the discrimination against the Palestinians. How about that, Brianna Wu? How about that? Let's see here. I'm looking through here. Let's see. And she says, Brianna Wu says, are people just unaware Biden has dedicated his State Department to pursuing a ceasefire for many months? What do you think Secretary Anthony Blinken has been doing with these repeated trips to the Middle East pertaining? Yeah, he's not doing enough. My Twitter feud with Briahna Joy Gray made it at Haaretz.com. They're calling it the war to Brianna's. Briahna versus Briahna, American political pundits feud on social media over Israel's war against Hamas. Yeah, we know about that. Let's see. Moments after the pro-Zionist panel argued that Muslims were unsuitable for cohabitation. And I've heard people say things like that over the years, by the way. Not just that panel. Unlike the Danes to Wall Applause, I make the forceful argument against ethnic nationalism and Islamophobia, as was the case through the debate. The moderator interjected at every turn, and he did. He just would not shut the fuck up. Let's see. Looking through here, and hold on a second. Give me a moment. I saw something here. Give me a couple of more moments. If I can't find that tweet, then I'll go on. So hold on a moment here. I had that tweet set up so everybody could see it. I don't think it's here. Over here. Maybe it's over here. Let me just check real quick. Let's see. It could be here. So oh yeah, let's go with this one. It might be here. So sorry for that little quirk right there. I just did a little pause. All right, and we're at yeah. Let's see here. The feud keeps going on, and I'm trying to find. I mean, it's just like it just keeps going on and all of this. I don't know where the well, that's okay. It was a Glenn Greenwald tweet in defense of Briahna Joy Gray. That's fine. I can't find it, but he did defend her too, which I was glad to see too, because being what it is. Well, let's go with just go very quickly with Brianna Wu, and to tell you a little bit of what I know about her, which I'm going to tell you, it isn't much. Of course, I don't think she's much either, anyway. But apparently, Brianna Wu is some kind of well-known gamer, and she's some kind of shit lib type. I guess a liberal Zionist. Some of the last few remaining. And somebody needs to give her the memo. It's not 1963 anymore. It's not 1957 anymore. It's not even 1970. Not even 1972 or something like that. Those days are over. Israel ceased being a secular state. What democracy that did exist when even in its vain form is pretty much disappearing as quickly as it can be. The secular population is leaving, and it's become a theocratic state. And Benjamin Netanyahu has even tried to make that final jab toward authoritarianism by grabbing the one last institution that did have some kind of safeguards, which was their Supreme Court. And he failed at that, but who's to say that he would, and if he would have done it, he would have been able to become a dictator 100% for sure. I already declared him a dictator already. But so she's defending this ethno state that's committing a genocide. That's doing more than just defending themselves. I mean, it's actually being proactive in ethnic cleansing. And she's going to sit there and attack Briahna Joy Gray, call her anti-Semitic, and make conspiracy theories about the mainstream news getting their information from left-wing news sources in Iran, which is stupid to say because, Iran is not a left-wing government. It's actually a right-wing government. It's a right-wing government because the United States made them a right-wing government going back to the year 1953. They have not known what it's like to be on the left since the 1950s. But, a lot of people are ignorant on a lot of the geopolitics of the Middle East. And apparently so is Brianna Wu. And, just like Konstantin Kisin, she can basically go to hell. So, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to play you a clip of a little bit of Konstantin Kisin. Apparently, he was on the Rubin Report, and he's going to talk about Briahna Joy Gray's old boss, Bernie Sanders, from the 2020 campaign, and be prepared for all the ignorance in the world that's being conjured up. I have a lot to say about this, too.
I mentioned Bernie in An Immigrant to the West because it boggles my mind how anyone in this country takes him seriously. This is a guy who honeymooned in the Soviet Union, where he would have had exactly the same experience as every other Westerner coming to the Soviet Union. They would have been taken to some fake wedding where fake KGB agents were having a fake wedding, and then they would be taken on some kind of trip. Every movement would be controlled, and these are the people who came back from the Soviet Union. I can't remember if it was. I don't want to slander them. After the debate, she comes over to me and asks for a selfie. So we gotta be willing. Probably I'm still to some extent both those things, and people are persuadable. And you persuaded me. You've persuaded me, and I believe that we can persuade others.
What about the people that are pushing it sort of? I don't want to say blindly, but did you see a clip about a month and a half ago on Real Time with Bill Maher where he asked Bernie Sanders if he knew the difference between equity and equality? Did you happen to see that?
I didn't see that one, no.
So it's a really incredibly enlightening moment. Do you know the difference between equity and equality? I mean, it's basically saying to him, do you know the difference between socialism and capitalism, in essence? And Bernie fumbles, and then basically says, I don't know. And Bill
this coming from the most stupid man in social media, David Rubin, saying, Bernie Sanders doesn't know the difference. Even Joe Rogan roasted Dave Rubin on his inept, stupid talk about not having regulations in the construction industries. Dave Rubin, you're stupid. The fact that you have a $5 million home in Florida is proof that capitalism rewards stupidity and rewards mediocrity. Let's go.
explains it to him, and it's like, well, wait a minute, you've been the prime mover of these ideas from a economic perspective, at least. I don't think he realized how it was going to become racialized and sexualized and everything else. But it's clear to me that he just didn't even know what he was talking about.
That doesn't surprise. I mentioned Bernie in An Immigrant's Letter to the West because it boggles my mind how anyone in this country takes him seriously. This is a guy who honeymooned in the Soviet Union.
Yes, Bernie Sanders went to the Soviet Union. I believe it was March of 1988 when he got married to Jean O'Mara. He went on his honeymoon to the Soviet Union. He also went there on a political visit. Do you know what was going on in 1988 in the Soviet Union and in the United States? The Cold War was coming to an end. Relations were improving between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was commonplace. And Bernie Sanders was an elected politician. We're talking about when Bernie was actually cool. Bernie Sanders was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont. He went to the Soviet Union. And there were people going on holidays to the Soviet Union during the Cold War, whether they were on the left or the right, because, Russia has kind of a beautiful culture in a lot of ways. And it wouldn't be crazy to go and visit the Soviet Union. There are people that go to Cuba today. There are people who visit China. There are people, there are people who visit whatever countries because they do have a unique culture and a unique society in many ways. But what he's trying to do, he's trying to say, well, Bernie Sanders was, pro-Soviet or something, like pro whatever communist, and what have you. They're trying, and here's the thing: this is not socialism versus communism from my perspective, but just a clear distinction of what kind of a socialist Bernie Sanders purports to be. Because these people are ignorant. Because on one hand, they claim he's a Stalinist on one hand, but then again, they claim that because he was an elector in 1980 for the Socialist Workers' Party candidate for president, I cannot think of the name of the candidate at the moment. The Socialist Workers' Party is a Trotskyist organization. Bernie Sanders might have been adjacent to Trotskyism for a while, possibly. But he is what you will call a democratic socialist, or the more common term, especially around the world, where that sort of thing is more mainstream, he would be called a social democrat. Now, Konstantin Kisin, I believe, knows this because he was born in Russia and he lives in England. He knows these things, but he also knows America's filled with stupid people like Dave Rubin. He knows that Americans are filled with retards like Dave Rubin. So he speaks retard to the audience of Dave Rubin because the Dave Rubin audience is retarded. I'm not a politically woke type, contrary to what someone like him and Dave Rubin would think of me.
Where he would have had exactly the same experience as every other Westerner coming to the Soviet Union. They would have been taken to some fake wedding where fake KGB agents were having a fake wedding, and then they would be taken on some kind of trip. Every movement would be controlled, and these are the people.
And your ass today supports the cause of the Ukraine. You, of all people, coming from a Jewish background, supporting a country littered with neo-Nazis in the government and the military. And you know that, Konstantin. You know that. I suspect that you're probably a Hillary Clinton cocksucker, and you're probably, you probably suffer from Russia phobia for the same reason a lot of shit libs in the United States and maybe other Western countries suffer from. And you're scum to me because you're on Dave Rubin having a serious conversation with somebody that doesn't even deserve to be respected.
To the people who came back from the Soviet Union, I can't remember if it was, I don't want to slander dead people, but I can't remember who it was. One of these darlings of the left came back from the Soviet Union in 1938 as millions of my ancestors, my countrymen and women were starving. And said, I've never eaten as well as I did in the Soviet Union. These gullible clowns in the West who have never experienced socialism, have never experienced communism.
And there is a difference between the two ideologies, as I said. But anyway.
Sell simple but false ideas to people. They don't deserve to be taken seriously. They don't. And they don't often.
No. Dave Rubin doesn't deserve to be taken seriously. You, Konstantin Kisin, the one that basically called Briahna Joy Gray DEI Barbie, you don't deserve to be taken seriously either. You both deserve to be ridiculed, scorned, mocked at. That's what y'all deserve. You don't deserve any prestige y'all got currently going for you. But anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. And also, anyway, I had to get this out of my system. I take exception to the attacks, as I said. I mean, Briahna Joy Gray. I mean, it just bothers me, and I just, it's not just her. I mean, they do this to Shoe on Head too quite a bit. I've seen people attack her viciously as well, and it's just really just crazy. So okay, let's go ahead and take a look through here and at the chat line. Excuse me, still burping my pizza from supper. Let's see. Let me do this. We'll go through the chat line. I'm going to make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay. All right. That's what I'm trying not to do. So, all right. Let's see. Okay, we got it here. Yeah, she backed. Briahna Joy Gray did back Marianne Williamson in the primaries. She's obviously not a candidate at this point. Briahna Gray has not voted for a Democrat for president since 2008, and she tends to vote independent. She sort of has what it looks like to me an inside-outside strategy. She'll support, a lefty Democrat, but she tends to favor independent politics. And I was talking to a friend of mine today about that, and it's kind of like, what do you do? Because when it comes to electoral politics, I've sort of been there. I've done all the strategies. I work inside the Democratic Party. I worked outside of the Democratic Party. I sort of done the inside outside. And this is what I come up with. The system is rigged, so third parties can't get a chance to break through hardly. They won't allow you to take over the Democratic Party from within. And if you try to work inside, those progressive ideas die. So you're kind of in a rut right there. And the country remains leaning rightward as a result. She wanted a dirty break, so there was that too. How do you go on back to or Queen issue or don't easy on Crystal? How are you going to back or Queen if you don't go easy on Crystal and Kyle? You shouldn't be going easy on her, Willie. Oh, on Brianna, I think she's going back Jill Stein at this point. She indicated that on Twitter because apparently Mehdi Hassan, the way Mehdi Hassan, I'm not a fan of his, but he sort of indicated he was going to vote for Jill Stein, but he said he was depressed about it. She said, I wouldn't call it depressing. So, and I don't know how she's going to vote. I think she will either vote for Stein or Cornel West if Cornel West is on the ballot. So, and I don't know what to make of Cornel West's presidential campaign at this point, to tell you the truth. Let's see. Bobby attacks her for from the white. That's pretty much the case right there. Truth be told. Yep. Let's see here. All right. I'm scrolling down a little bit here. All right. Let's see. Let's see here. Hey, Desert Mantis, how are you doing today? Let's see. Let's see where he. I don't think it was racism. I think he knows she's out of his league, and that's where the Barbie came from. I think it depends on the context. I have a friend that referred to AOC as Puerto Rican Barbie years ago. And when he did it, I don't think he was using racism in her case, because I'm sorry. When I listen to AOC, she sounds like a ballet girl. And, and she wouldn't like it if she hears me say this, but I look at AOC, I'm thinking, you're a white girl with a nice tan, as far as I'm concerned. So, and she and I are we have the same ethnicity too, by the way. I'm half Puerto Rican. So, let's see. The debate is cringe. I find it almost impossible to listen to the Zionist BS. It can get very old it's the same old argument that you hear over and over again. The only democracy in the Middle East. There's no democracy in the Middle East. None. If maybe Cyprus, if you should consider that a Middle Eastern country, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not too sure about the government, what kind of government they have there. I could see them being more of a parliamentary democracy. Let's see. Let me look through here. I'm sorry. All right. Here we are. Kill your egregores. I'm so sorry. Holy shit, Willie's still on. Hey, how are you doing today? Egregores. There we go. I got it. Yeah, I'm doing good. So, let's see here. We have. I'm going to make sure nobody gets ignored. So, okay, because I'm going to be signing off in a few minutes here. So we have anybody here that I have? Let's see. All right. Looking through. All right. Let's see here. I'm looking through here. I'm glad to see all y'all here tonight, by the way. I wanted to let y'all know I appreciate it. Y'all are very patient with me. And I agree. This woo-woo bitch really pissed me off. Yes. I didn't know too much about her. Now that I know a little more about Brianna Wu, not impressed. Let's see. Why is the DEI a pejorative? It's a pejorative when it's uttered in a negative way. And I'm kind of, I know the diversity, equity, inclusion, as progressives, that's what we should strive for. The only problem I would say about that is sort of like it's sort of a way to kind of sidetrack away from labor, which labor would take care of a lot of things that kind of give us the default DEI that's our desired goal. I know I'm sounding class reductionist there, but I also know how union contracts work too, because even in my weak ass union that I belonged to when I was a member of the UFCW. Good morning from Cleveland. Are you in Cleveland, Warren? If you're, hope all is well. Even my union contract, UFCW Local 204 contract, did have some good progressive language about protecting women from sexism and anything about any racism and discrimination that takes place, that they will go and have that tackled. And they had language that protected LGBTQ people from harassment and discrimination. It was in the contract. So there was in the previous jobs that was you didn't have to worry about discrimination. And I know it's been a while, but they didn't even have rainbows all over the place in June, but they had protections that was ingrained in the contracts. And that's so they were ahead of the curve in that regard. Let's see here. We have Choose the Heretics, chooses Carnation Revolutions now. And how are you doing today? Why will you indulge in racial national bigotry when we could make fun of somebody in Cleveland? I don't know if I've ever been to Cleveland, actually. Let's see here. Looking through, scrolling through. And I am, let's see. Let's see here. Oh, I can't let a anti Marjorie Taylor Greene comment go unnoticed. See, why will you indulge in racial national bigotry when we can make fun of somebody in Cleveland? Oh, wait a minute, I missed that. Hold on a second. Hold on. There was a Marjorie Taylor Greene remark that I missed, but that's okay. All right, and Game of Film. How are you doing today? That's right, Ed Gregores. Ed Gregores. That's right. And I apologize, everyone. I apologize. Yeah, all roads paved with this shit leads to Zionism, and it's a much more dangerous ideology than I ever thought it was. I used to kind of think it was, people wanted to get away from discrimination, which was a legitimate concern, but there needed to be another way to handle it than to create the state, especially in Palestine. I've always said, if you want to create a Jewish state, it should have always been secular and not necessarily ethno-national, and it should not have been in Palestine. It could have been in what is now northern Poland today, what was East Prussia, which was then part of Germany, as a way to make the Germans pay for what they did in during the Hitler's time in power, and that would have probably been a better situation than you should have made the country. You should have created a new European country out of it. If you were going to go and create a country to solve a problem through reparations, it should have been done in Europe instead of over there in the Middle East. I don't think you will be having other problems in the Middle East, or that's not particularly connected to that issue, perhaps, but that there could have been a better way to solve this problem, or to just make it very clear in the international community that this kind of persecution will never ever be tolerated again, and that might have been the best solution after all. Just to make damn sure that anti-Semitism will be dealt with harshly. Any violence against any form, not just against Jewish people, against any violence against any group of people, and it's kind of spelled in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that all people are to be guaranteed equality and all of that. So there is that. So anyhow, see. Oh, Prussia sounds like a sequel to Russia. Interesting thing about Prussia, East Prussia, and this is sort of a comedy aside. When I was watching the TV show Hogan's Heroes, apparently the character Colonel Klink, who was not a Nazi but just a regular member of the German army in the prisoner of war camp, was from East Prussia, which East Prussia was considered like the intellectual hub of Germany, where it was rich in its culture and traditions and all of that. So, and I think that basically, since Colonel Klink was an idiot, that they were essentially trying to kind of make hay out of this. So, it was just kind of funny and everything. So, anyhow. A little bit of side humor there and all that, and I actually read a fan fiction on some of the characters, some of the German characters from Hogan's Heroes. What happened to them after the war? And it was interesting what happened to some of the characters. Now, Major Costello from the Gestapo, obviously a Nazi. He was I mean, he went to Nuremberg, all of that, because he was a war criminal. General Bull Cotter was just a regular center right sort of guy, so he didn't really do too much time. He did a little bit of time, but he was not really an active war criminal. And he was given a pension, and he died like in the early 1950s or something like that. According to this fan fiction, Sergeant Schultz ended up was recognized as helping Colonel Hogan because he knew what was going on. This is why he kept on saying, "I know nothing, I hear nothing, I see nothing." It's because he knew what was going on. And really, my theory is that Corporal Lobo was bribing him with the French gourmet food. So that is my theory about that. And apparently, prior to the war, he was the CEO of some little toy factory, and he went back to that. And he was actually a mildly center-left sort of guy. He was with the Social Democratic Party before it was banned by the Third Reich. So he mentioned that he was a member of the Social Democratic Party in one episode of Hogan's Heroes. Really interesting little fun fact there. So I just thought I'd go and mention that. And I think Colonel Klink also, he retired and I think he died sometime in the 1960s or something like that. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I mean, we know that it is somebody had a wild imagination, but it's feasible if you want to put it into a possible real life situation. All that sounds pretty reasonable. So anyway, I am going to be calling it a night because I was going to do another video, but I have a check engine light that needs attending in my car, and I need to go have that taken care of in the morning, have that looked at and everything, so for my car to pass inspection. And so how life is. So I should do stand-up comedy behind this brick wall. An Evening at the Improv. I remember that show. So anyway, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any way if you disagree with what I have to say. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. And let's see. Also, be sure to subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show on YouTube and subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show on Twitch and some of the other channels on my platform, and do the same for all these other folks in our space, because independent media, we all need each other to help each other, because the algorithms and what social media like to do to all of us, they like to go and shadow ban us to the best that they can and keep our voices quiet. So because those of us that have less than 1,000 subscribers or even less than 5,000 subscribers, we've been doing this shit 10 years ago. We would probably be having 25,000-30,000 subscribers, I kind of think. So where we're going with this. So this is why we need to go and support each other, and why I think that's what we need to do. So we need to reject corporate media as much as we can. Free Palestine. Free Julian Assange. Free healthcare. Please, free healthcare. And of course, freedom of speech, absolute for all. Take care. Have a great evening. I will see y'all fairly soon. Bye-bye.